Welcome to our Sakata vegetable production series. Today we are talking lettuce, specifically when should you plant what lettuce. They call it a slot, where you need to basically plant it in the correct time for your area and so forth. So 𝗍𝗲𝗏𝗲𝗏 is going to tell us a little bit more about that and how everything works and what you should and should not do. 𝗍𝗲𝗏𝗏𝗏, how are you doing?
I'm fine, how are you?
Well, my English got a little bit up there at the end, but let's try and
try it again.
Push through. Okay, so we spoke a little bit in one of the previous videos just about the slot timing and when you should plant a lettuce. So just explain to me quickly, what is a slot and what does it mean to say, okay, you need to plant it in the correct slot?
Okay, so a slot is specific for your area. So if I'm talking slot, I'm talking about a certain, let's say week 3 to week 16. This is, let's say, from Jan to mid-March. Then you can plant a certain variety because of temperatures, amount of sunlight.
And you worked all these things out for us already.
Whew, no, not just me. So all my predecessors, everybody that's in the lettuce industry knows what hard work it is to go and trial a new variety for a specific area and see when it slots in nicely with the farmer's practices and his area and when not. So like this varieties here, they work well for this area in the winter here, but they wouldn't work for the winter, let's say in Gauteng, in 𝗩𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏, let's say, because it's frosty and it's cold, and yeah, it's nice, it's hot.
But there you've got other varieties that as Sakata you've tested and you've made sure that you already did that work on my behalf to make sure that, you know what, you plant this variety in your area this time slot, you're good to go.
Exactly.
Okay, so what then happens if I don't listen to you and I go and I go to wherever I get a little bit of seed, I put them in the ground and off we go?
Okay, so maybe, let's say you're lucky, it works out for you, but most of the time it doesn't. So what will happen is you'll get a physiological disorder probably happening. So if you're slotting, let's say, a winter lettuce that's genetically a faster grower in a summer slot, it might, first of all, not make a head, or worst case scenario, it's gonna bolt.
Okay, so I'm guessing that's why you gave me these things.
Yes. So when I'm talking bolting, take my baby.
Oh, I'll take your baby.
Thank you. So when I'm talking bolting, this happens.
Yeah.
So your stem grows and it goes beyond a point where it's acceptable. So now your internal quality, look at this lettuce, it's a beautiful layering, it's a nice size. But this lettuce isn't good anymore, it's going to be bitter.
So, and it's basically empty inside almost. You've got the top layer here, but then because of this, it only started making leaves there instead of here.
No, so what happened is, yes, it's you're losing on leaf quality, quantity, and it's pushing up. It's going to burst through and it's going to stand here. You're going to get a beautiful flower field. But you, as a lettuce farmer, you can't sell flowers.
And we don't want to go into seed production. So.
No. This is your money, the head.
So this is more or less what it needs to look like.
This is an acceptable head. So here you have a small core, you have nice layering, and there's still space left. It's a big difference between a cabbage and a lettuce. You don't want a full, heavy head, because then your head is over mature and your leaves go bitter. With lettuce, you still wanted a nice puffy. So there should be air pockets still left, good layering, so your leaves are firstly juicy, sweet and crispy.
So when I go to the shop, I always feel that I take the heaviest one because I think I'm getting the most bang for buck. So what you're telling me is, no, go for the one that's a little bit lighter, because then you'll get a little bit more of a puffy head like that one.
And shelf life. Shelf life is quite important. So when your head is over mature and it's heavy and it's a hard ball, you'll lose out on your shelf life because the headers are starting to deteriorate already. But if it's nice and it's puffy still, you'll get longer shelf life. For you, the consumer, more value for your money.
So I don't need to go for the solid one, go for the puffy one.
Go for a puffier one.
That's interesting consumer advice that you'll only get on this series. But in any case, and then just what I want to know is, so these letters that we've got at the bottom here, that is in essence, this is a iceberg, but the the head hasn't formed yet, so it doesn't look like this. Am I correct in saying when this basically fully mature, then I'll take out this head, and that's the piece that I harvested?
Yes, that is where your money is. So some farmers, when you do the box market, you'll cut the whole head and the frame just to give it some extra support from bruising and to give it more water to survive your transporting to the packer.
The whole process until it basically gets to the...
But if you're just going to harvest it ahead, as some of the guys are harvesting here, it's just the head, put it in a punnet, wrap it. Oh, quick note, also consumer advice. Check your heads for ribbing. Ribbing is also when it's a wrong slotted head and the head isn't happy enough. So what happens with ribbing? If you have a nice smooth rib, you can wrap it without crunching.
Yeah.
So this one here, beautiful ribbing structure. But like the one you're holding, you can see the rib. It's really kicking out.
Oh.
So the moment I'm going to wrap this, I'm going to crack this. And it's going to get oxidized, it's going to brown. It doesn't affect, but it doesn't look good. And when you're going to pay for something in today's economy, you want a good quality.
I'm going to go for that one. So
you as a farmer,
something to make sure that's why the slot is so important, because then also you get better bang for buck in terms of your the salad that you're selling also. And just quickly, what are the cycles on the salads? And I know you've got different varieties for different markets and so forth, but traditionally, how long would lettuce be in the ground for?
So if we're talking average slot, let's talk summer, because that's more average long.
Yes.
Summer, 5 to 6 weeks. Then you can start harvesting. I'm talking iceberg now.
Yeah.
Some of your other types, novelties and so, can be faster and giving you the weight you need. But yeah, mostly for an iceberg. Sometimes if it's a cold winter, it can go up until 8, 9, 10 weeks. It depends on how cold your winter is. But in your planning for summer, 5.5, 6 weeks.
And how do I know when it's ready?
There, you as a farmer, you can see it. It's not the whole frame still fluffy. You'll see your heads forming. When you get to your pivot, it's quite impressive. Here you see everything is fluffy now. Come here in like 2 weeks time, you'll see it's got this a glazy look, and then you can start seeing the heads all over.
And once
shining.
You've seen one, then you see all the others.
Exactly, because what's the point of getting your seed quality, your seedling quality, your fertigation, your irrigation? You want uniformity, because you want to get into a field, get your stuff out one shot and start marketing it.
You don't want to come 3 or 4 times to need to harvest.
It's a waste of money.
Exactly. Right, so that's it for which slot you should plant in our Sakata vegetable production series. If you've got any questions or comments below, or you can click the link on top here, depending on where you're watching, and then you can get in contact with Sakata. 𝗩𝗲𝗏𝗏, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Till next time. Cheers.
Bye.